What is a catechism? It's a fair question because it sort of sounds like a high church, sort of ecclesiastical word. And so it's a valid question. It sort of seems scary, sort of like something that you might find in a Catholic church or something like that. So if you're a Reformed Baptist, it sort of sounds weird. So what is a catechism? A catechism is a tool used to teach theological truth by means of question and answer. Now I'm going to say it again. A catechism is a tool to teach theological truth by means of question and answer. So we use this type of teaching tool all the time. In fact, particularly in any subject where there's a fixed body of data that we're trying to impart to the student. It might be something like the field of logic or geography, mathematics, the grammar of English. Really, any of those things where there's a fixed body of knowledge, we use a sort of catechetical type method all the time to teach the truth to students. So for example, in mathematics, you ask the student, what is 2 plus 2? And the student answers 4. And so this type of teaching by means of question and answer is one that people have used for thousands of years. And it's a simple method. Like I said, we use it in lots of different ways. And one of the benefits of it is it shows that body of knowledge is fixed. So when we teach mathematics and we ask the student, what is 2 plus 2? And they are expected to respond in a certain way. They're expected to give the correct answer, for there is a correct answer to that question, and the answer is 4. The student isn't asked how they feel about the answer. The student isn't asked to necessarily philosophically defend that answer, although I'm sure if you get a few maths guys sitting around, they would love to talk about number theory and things like that. But in religious instruction, these types of teaching tools can be very helpful. We ask a child, that's particularly where these are suited, although I myself have greatly benefited from the use of catechisms and would commend them to you. But what they'll do is they'll frame a religious question and expect a certain fixed answer from the respondent. So we might ask, what is adoption? And expect, theologically, we're talking about what is the adoption spoken of in the scriptures, okay? What is adoption? What is the act of adoption? And we might expect an answer from the student along these lines. Adoption is an act of God's free grace, whereby we are received into the number and have a right unto the privileges, all the privileges of the sons of God. Now that doesn't change. That is what the grace of adoption is. And it's never going to change. So we don't ask the student at this point in time when we're trying to teach this truth to them, we don't ask them, how do you feel about that? Although there is a right response, a right feeling to that truth, we don't use their feelings to try and measure out or learn what the truth is. There is a correct answer. In religious questions, like the ones used in teaching in a catechism, there are defined correct answers. And it's important for us as Christians to assert those things, to say there is a right answer to the question, what is God? God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable. In his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth. There's a fixed answer to who God is. And a catechism furnishes an opportunity for deeper reflection upon that truth. So you can mull that truth over in your mind and meditate upon it and use a catechism as the tool to do that, as a tool to get the truth in your mind, to let it frame your heart and come out in your fingertips so you can learn the fact, understand it, and then wisely apply it to every area of life. Catechisms give you that tool, and that's a benefit of them. So another thing that they do is they remind us that the truth doesn't change. When we use the historic catechisms of the Christian faith, of which there are many good ones, most of them I would recommend, some of them with slight modifications. So like being a Baptist, I would alter the Westminster Catechism, the larger and shorter, and remove some of the things that it teaches and insert some other things. Thankfully, the Baptists have already done this in Keach's Catechism, or what's oftenly referred to as Keach's Catechism, although it might have been compiled or written by William Collins. That's the subject for another time. That's a good catechism. Hercules Collins has a catechism called the Orthodox Catechism. That's good. That takes the Heidelberg Catechism, which is the Continental Reformed, that is the Reformed of Europe. It takes their catechism and alters it in order to fit the scriptures, namely, in order to fit the Baptist worldview. Spurgeon has a catechism as well. So there's lots of different catechisms. There's a catechism I've used with my children called a catechism for boys and girls. But now we've just switched to using the Baptist catechism, commonly known as Keach's Catechism. So we teach like this all the time. We ask questions all the time. And it's a way that we already are thinking. It's a way that our brains already function. And so using a catechism taps into that. And it's a tool that teaches theological truth, which never changes, by means of question and answer, where the respondent is expected to give an actual correct response with the acknowledgement that there is an actual correct response. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I do have other videos on the channel where I'm going through the Baptist Catechism. So if that's interesting to you, they're all about 2 or 3 minutes long. And just some of them are just a little bit longer. And so you can check those out if you want, where I share a few thoughts, brief thoughts on it. So that's what a catechism is. That's maybe why it's a helpful tool. And with that, I hope to see you guys in the next video. I wish you well.